All right, welcome back to Modern Mondays here at Guardian Games. This is round three. I'm Urchin Cully, and I'm here with.
Travis Cooper.
Yeah, and this round we are going to see Gabriel on Azorius Stoneblade. We know you guys like Stoneforge Mystic decks, and we are going to see him face off against Aaron here on Amulet Titan.
Oh, I think that's a Greg Hag on
Oh,
Stoneblade.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Think we have the name wrong up there, but we will get that fixed real quick. Um, Aaron, one of our, I think, local Amulet aficionados, he's been playing the deck for quite a while now.
I think Aaron goes back and forth between different lands-based decks like Valakut decks, Titan decks, and then Jund. Aaron's played a lot
I've seen him play Jund,
and
yeah.
for a while around town, and I remember playing Aaron on like Jund 4 years ago, and then still see him play it every now and then.
Played against Aaron on Amulet at a couple of GPs and MCQs I guess they're Magic Fests now.
uh, Yeah, and I know Greg plays a fair amount of humans and then has dabbled in like blue-white control, but maybe likes the package that Stoneforge brings, and so you have some kind of aggressive starts.
Yeah, you can definitely play more of a mid-range game, not so much all in on the reactive. Yeah, Bogdan, you can chill. These are fine decks. And yay, I'm glad we have some Amulet fans out there. I am pretty into Amulet. It is just a fun little puzzle. Looking like we are gonna get a mulligan from Aaron. Saw an engineered explosives and Amulet and not a lot more. Just a bunch of lands.
I don't see how you can hate Stoneforge decks.
I mean, I'm not into them, but I don't hate them. They're hard to hate.
They're pretty like medium, you know.
Mhm.
It's like they're not doing something that's like incredibly annoying that says you can't play Magic. They're not like going over the top. I don't know. They're like, yeah, could play some interaction, play some dudes.
I see Opt and Cryptic, I believe, in hand for Greg here. At least a Glacial Fortress and a 3 Fairy. Colonnade Hallowed Fountain, I believe, is the hand.
What do y'all see as the main hinges on this matchup for each side?
I feel like being play draw is pretty important, especially because Greg is just playing blue-white. You're not going to have removal that doesn't ramp your opponent. For something like a Secure Tribe Scout, you're going to really want to have like your turn 2 Stoneforge and then relevant interaction like Path and Snapcasters to hopefully just be able to be beating down with a 4/4 and then just pathing all of your opponent's Titans.
Yeah, Amulet tends to be narrow on threats, but quite fast. And you're right, if he can't take out enablers, it's going to be a problem. So we saw a free Once Upon a Time to pick up a Primeval Titan. And actually, I was talking to Aaron a bit earlier, and he's saying that a lot of Amulet builds are completely dropping Ancient Stirrings at this point because Once Upon a Time is that good.
Okay, I'm just gonna bring this up again because it's personal.
Uh-huh.
Right now, Lightning Bolt would be pretty good.
All right. I'll I'll
Just
I'll,
saying.
I'll allow it. Lightning Bolt would be great. And better than Path to Exile.
I will note that one of the main upgrades for Amulet in this matchup is Field of the Dead, as before Blue-White Stoneblade could fairly easily run Amulet out of threats.
Absolutely.
But Field of the Dead is a way for Amulet, as long as Azorius doesn't find Field of Ruin, Amulet can kind of keep from running out of threats ever.
Yeah, I feel that it is pretty huge for Titan, just having a secondary way to win without casting creatures.
So we picked up another Cryptic command from Greg. That's going to be really useful if he can get that online ahead of a big threat. We don't have an Amulet from Aaron, so it's conceivable.
I kind of like it's awkward. Okay, so if you Field of Ruin now, I would Field of Ruin if my opponent activates Secure Tribe Scout.
Oh yeah.
Nope, we're not doing that.
Oh yeah. Aaron's got the heads up play of not activating that Secure Tribe Scout because you're going to sit there and defend your land. That Tribe Scout now sits there and never ever taps, unless that field taps. So we're going to go for it.
Ooh, I don't
I
like
would
that
not like
field
that.
right now.
Greg knows that there's another Growth Chamber at hand. Yeah, we're going to bounce that. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
That's a strip
I
mine.
really, really don't like that.
Woof. Bad. That's a really big setback. And yes, field is incredibly good against control strategies just because it's hard to interact with as it's buried in the land base, and it just has this persistent generation of threats. It's also really good in control strategies because again, it doesn't interrupt your plan. You don't have to invest any mana in it. You just sit there and like casually toss zombies onto the field and inevitably beat your opponent to death. And hello, Chocolate Attack. It's good to see you. It's good to see everybody who we see frequently. I don't know, makes this worth it.
I also want to give my quick curmudgeonly old Amulet player perspective on the Ancient Stirrings Once Upon a Time debate. Once Upon a Time doesn't find Amulet of Vigor, which is a really big part of the deck in a lot of matchups. So I'm wondering if we're gonna see the kind of like the main build of the deck kind of swing a little bit back towards having some Ancient Stirrings. I don't know if Once Upon a Time is the be all end all for this deck.
You might be right. That's completely fair. And one of the, obviously key pieces is the namesake artifact, and it especially helps with those really explosive starts. But I wonder if we're seeing Amulet lean a little bit back towards more consistent, like almost mid-rangey plays over the super combo draws.
So right now we've got, just to interject here a little bit for gameplay, we have an Azusa being cast, and then we had the options for Cryptic Command or Spell Queller from Greg. And I do like the Spell Queller because...
That's a Reclamation Sage.
Oh, it's a Rec Sage, okay. Interesting.
Main deck Rec Sage.
Huh.
Aggressive.
Okay, so Greg just wanting to get down some kind of threat there that interacts with Aaron's board in some way.
So, so we're gonna get in here for 2 with the Spell Queller. I really think Aaron has his guns trained on those mid-range Urza decks. He's got main deck Artifact Hate. He's maybe playing a more mid-rangey build over a super fast combo build that's easier to disrupt. But we'll see.
Huh. It seems like Greg isn't getting super punished for that Field of Ruin activation earlier in the game. And, a lot of times, sometimes you realize you've made a mistake, and from there you can just play the best game possible. And Greg was able to still hit land drops and all the spells are live.
So some of these newer Amulet builds are actually not playing the Cavern of Souls in the main, which obviously is kind of a concession to control being less popular than it has been. But this is, of course, a matchup where that may actually be a big problem for Aaron, because to get field out, he's got to be able to resolve an Amulet or a Titan here.
I'm also going to do a slight point of just game analysis here, where Greg countered and drew, and I think there's an opt in hand, or you might be able to draw opt, and you left up the Field of Ruin, where I really would have liked to leave up a blue mana there.
I agree.
A small thing, but kind of relevant.
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity.
Oh.
Gonna hit Teferi down to that critical too. Shut off any possible bounce.
We have a Force of Negation in hand and a Jace, so pretty good if you think your opponent is going to have to cast a Summoner's Pact to get another
Absolutely.
prime time.
Spell Queller gonna get in. Apply that little bit of pressure.
So, I mean, it is a little bit shields down if your opponent draws a prime time if you just cast a Jace here, but I do like casting the Jace just because
Why?
you can, get, you can find path, you get another blue card for Force of Negation.
Yeah.
You have to kind of get ahead a little bit. You can't just keep waiting for the ideal moment to play your cards. And Jace is a really strong threat to get down.
You're right. Especially, I think that's a good play given that Greg was able to field that Slayer Stronghold and keep that Titan from being hasty. And without haste on that Titan, there's a lot more room to interact with it.
Yeah, I don't think it can be understated how important Slayer's Stronghold is in this matchup. It's absolutely enormous in its importance.
And it's the only one, it's a one-of in the deck, so now that's gone, the creatures aren't going to be able to get haste.
The borderless card in the Exile of the Amulet player is a Once Upon a Time, cast for free on the first turn of the game. Boop! Polk your Teferi. Yeah, we're not winning with that Sakura Tribe Scout. It's Titan or nothing, so we're just going to keep Teferi in check. Keep you from drawing a card.
Yeah, picking up the Bog is fine.
We're going to have an opt. Yeah, I think it's time to get sculpting. Snick, 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 snick. Alright. We're going to pick up a card.
So that pump fake there.
What are we going to do?
Snap ops.
Snopped. Snath. Snopped. Sniptic. Gotta do that before we get bogged down. Is it as broken in Modern? Once upon a time? It ain't bad. I'll tell you that much. Opcaster Mage. Pathcaster Mage? Ooh, I'm liking this game. Command Caster Mage.
So there's some options here. I was going to say you can play Jace, bounce your Spell Queller if you want to have Spell Queller up to Spell Queller something. Or you can just play Jace Brainstorm.
I really want to see that Jace.
Yeah, I'm like, you got to get ahead here.
You know, he's hitting for 2 a turn, but Aaron does have draws that can turn this game around very quickly.
Especially with the Force of Negation,
yeah.
I like playing Jace. If I didn't have a Force in my hand, it's a little bit more iffy, but...
You don't have to... Yeah, and you can hard force. You can cast Jace and, like, straight hold up cancel.
For sure.
It doesn't hit Titan, but...
But Greg's ahead on board, and Aaron, like, he has a Titan in hand, so Force isn't going to take care of that anyway. It would take care of the chain, but it's not actually going to take care of the Titan itself. So if he's keeping Aaron off Field of Ruin, or Field of the Dead, excuse me, it makes sense to me.
How's he keeping Aaron off Field of the Dead, though, Ian?
Because if he can counter the... Oh, does he not have a counter for the Titan?
No, there was not a counter in hand except for Force of Negation.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So
we are going
like
to
I
see...
guess he's just selling Cryptic really well here.
You know, honestly, so we did see the Jace come down and a Brainstorm, and honestly, if my opponent casts Jace and Brainstorm, I just assume they have every card in their deck at that point. They have a Cryptic. If they didn't, they do now. Boltcaster Mage. Yeah, I'm in. I mean, obviously, I'm in because it's good. Also, I am so avoiding Elk puns, I won't do it. I will not give that card that much respect. Oh, here we go. No, we do have the Cryptic. Cryptic sold so well that he even had it.
I know. Well, I think Greg drew it off that Jace.
As I said, Jace hits, you Brainstorm, you have every card in your deck.
As someone that plays a lot of Control, I wish that was true, and I definitely stare down my opponent so that they assume that's true, but so many times it's not true.
You know, I need to get used to that because you don't even have to stare me down. The second Jace Brainstorms, I'm just like, well... That's that, I guess.
But on Aaron's side of the board, Greg was bluffing that Cryptic so well. If I was on Greg's side, I thought he had Cryptic. That said, I think since Aaron had 2 Titans that he could have jammed in a row, I believe, I think he should have just tried to jam them both, because if you know it's not getting much better for you the longer you wait, you got to just go for it and hope they don't have it, even if they're representing it.
Yeah, that's the weird tipping point against Control, is you want to wait and see if you can stack up multiple threats to really push something through, but there comes a point at which you know that the longer it goes on, the worse it gets for you, and you just have to give them fewer looks and just say, you know what, here's some threats. I hope it gets there, and if it doesn't, well, you've done your thing and I lose. And that's sort of how the game rolls out a lot of the time. So let's take...
I thought it was kind of interesting, too, in that matchup where Greg's deck was sort of like played like Blue-White Control, but doesn't quite have all the... Blue-White Control, I think, has a better matchup against Titan deck than Stoneblade does, but Greg was able to draw more of the like Cryptic Command side of the deck.
Mm-hmm. So options for Greg in the sideboard. We've got 2 Timely Reinforcements, 2 Disdainful Strokes, 1 Gideon, ally of Zendikar, 2 Damping Sphere, a Batterskull, 2 Supreme Verdict, a Geist of Saint Traft, 2 Celestial Purge, and 2 Rest in Peace.
I definitely am bringing in Geist Stroke. It depends if I think my opponent is playing Cavern of Souls or not, and how familiar I am with like current list. Amulet list mostly playing Cavern in the sideboard, Ian?
Yeah, it's gone
Yeah,
to the
that's
side.
what I've seen mostly lately. Also, Damping Sphere is a knockout
Oh, yeah.
punch.
Yeah.
Can't miss that.
So I definitely don't think I even board in the strokes here, to be honest. I would board in Geist. I would even consider Verdicts. If you can just run your opponent out of threats and it can't be countered. Not
Yeah.
the best card, but somewhat relevant. If you can Field of Ruin, a hasty land, or like Path, the Titan that gets haste, and then Field of Ruin, your Verdicts can do something. So those are consideration for me, as well as Gideon just putting on a clock too.
Yeah, it can also clean up a board if you can take care of a Field of the Dead. Speaking of Field of the Dead, options for Aaron include 1 copy of that, perhaps an additional 1 main, not sure.
Yeah, it's usually a second copy.
A Kalini Garden, an Obstinate Baloth, 2 Tireless Tracker, 2 Dismember, 1 Engineered Explosives, 1 Cavern of Souls, 1 Force of Vigor, 2 Disdainful Stroke, a Remnant Excavator, and 2, we'll talk about it at some point, Oko Thief of Crowns.
Well,
Awkward silence.
Oko's fantastic.
In every matchup.
Yeah.
You have green and blue
Bring in
mana?
Oko everywhere.
I think it depends how many cards to take out. I mean, a lot of the utility lands are like flex slots. I definitely Cavern's great. Field of the Dead's good, especially if you're playing against Field of Ruin deck. I could see an argument for Tireless
like Tracker.
Tracker and Disdainful Stroke, although I don't really like Stroke that much
No.
against Stoneblade, but Aaron might not know that he's playing Stoneblade. He might think it's a more of a traditional control deck with some spell quellers in it.
Yeah, from that draw.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed Stoneblade, and I think Aaron can safely take out his life gain land, whether that's Kabira Crossroads or Radiant, or the other life gain land, and easily put in something like Tireless Tracker. I think is like a pretty safe include. You want to diversify your threats. It's possibly worth it to even get rid of one of your prime times here.
What do you think about the Ruin Excavator, Ian? Is that a card you'd bring in?
Yeah, I think if you have stuff that you just want to take out, I think it's fine to bring in. These newer lists with Once Upon a Time are pretty streamlined, so I haven't really looked at what the sideboard plans are for them. But it's certainly not bad in the matchup, as honestly, Field of the Dead is oftentimes a ticket to a victory, which is why you're bringing in a second copy.
Yeah, you can kind of just like jump block the Batter Skull and then get a bunch of zombies.
Slow, inevitable zombie army. Or fast zombie army if you have a few extra land drops.
Yeah, I don't think Amulet's playing Glimmer Post.
Not Glimmer Post. Alright, Tolari West comes in tapped. We're going to pick it back up. Simic Growth Chamber. Got a little bit of a fair start here. We're going to opt.
It's Radiant Fountain.
It is
Sorry.
Radiant for Aaron.
Oh, are we going to see a turn 2 Stoneforge?
Surprise! A
Okay.
threat.
So, Greg's probably hoping Aaron doesn't have a turn 3 Azusa.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good for Aaron.
I actually think this would really surprise me if I was on Aaron's side. When I was kind of reading the game from Aaron's side the previous match, I would not have guessed Stoneblade at all.
And if you're looking at the way his draw is developing, he kept a very slow hand, which, I don't think you're going to do if you're on the play. Even on the play against a Stoneblade deck, you're not going to keep a hand this slow.
Yeah, and I think it's also... I want to Field of Ruins so bad right now. You're basically like
It's
kind
free.
of time walking Aaron.
So free. Yeah. Blam. We gonna Once Upon a Time off that? How many rounds are we having today? We have 4 rounds here every Monday. We have about, I think, 46 players tonight, but we always cut it at 4 rounds because while this is the most relaxing, wonderful part of your Monday, the shop has to close eventually and we all have to go home. But-
It is actually a Monday.
Yeah, I
And getting
know.
feisty with the Stoneforge Mystic coming in.
Ooh. Beat you up.
I will say, if Aaron was pretty heads up and reading like a list online and stuff, the only lists that are playing spell quellers these days are Stoneblade list. But that's like pretty deep into knowing what metagames are.
Yeah.
And plus, at a local game shop, people play all sorts of weird things.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron has had a really rough turn of lands here. He's sitting on an Oko in hand and has had now 2 ETB tapped lands, the Teleria and the Field of the Dead, that have prevented him from casting that Oko, which would have been so huge to get on the board early before Greg had the mana to counter it.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about that.
It's like Oko's just tailor-made for this matchup.
I'm fine that Oko
so
is
good.
awkward to cast. Oh, this is sweet.
It's
So
awkward to cast.
is going to get Batter Skull. Greg's going to be able
Rude.
to throw in a Batter Skull at the end of Aaron's turn. Then we're going to get a sword on the Batter Skull germ token. Things are looking pretty good.
Elk.
I'm just like really tired of.
I don't do elk puns.
Yeah.
I'll call things elks, but I'm not doing elk puns. I'm working on a treatise on Oko, and there will be absolutely no elk puns. Yeah, we will be back on cam. We had to let it go because last round went to time. But we will have some. Oh, we're going to drop a Batter Skull in here on a turn, or maybe a sword. It's the sort of feast and famine. No big deal. What do you think about dropping the sword there over the Batter Skull?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because if you drop the Batter Skull next turn, you're like Forge in Sword, equip Sword if you have a land. Just boom.
That was a level 0 play, I thought, but I don't know what Greg's trying to play around at this point. I'm definitely Field of Ruining that Field of the Dead, though.
Ah, I can get right out of here.
I guess you can equip Sword to Stoneforge, swing in, see what happens, then Field of Ruin after combat.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. But if you wait, no, because if you drop in Batter Skull end of turn, you drop sword, equip sword, you're definitely connecting with the sword because it has protection from Azusa, and so you definitely get to untap all your lands, and then you still field.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Greg was thinking about playing around. Maybe artifact removal, and he would have rather the sword get blown up.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking. I don't play Stoneblade.
And we're fielding Tolaria West.
We're going to go for the Tolaria West and not the Field of the Dead. Get that snow-covered forest. You know a Field of the Dead deck with meaningless snowlands.
So this decision by Greg is really interesting because if I'm Aaron, I read from that Greg maybe doesn't have counter magic for my Titan. So I'm 100% jamming if I'm Aaron, because if Greg's trying to cut me off threats pre-Titan, then I'm just going to go for it.
Ooh, Dismember response to equip. We did bring in Disdainful Stroke, looks like from Aaron. Maybe a misread on this deck indeed. Stoneforge goes down. Not happening this turn. But the Jace as well as the Batter Skull in hand for Greg.
You're going to get a Titan. No. Oh, just going to get the Oko.
Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Aaron pointing says that's an elk. And he's right. That is an elk. Which member? That member.
Oh. Wah, wah.
I do love that Aaron appears to have brought many, many elk tokens.
Well, he knew what he was doing. He knew what was going to happen. Batter Skull. Not as good when elk.
I mean, you can always play Jace, bounce Azusa, swing Oko down to 2, put in Batter Skull on the end step.
Oh, it's just when you're a mid-range strategy and you're trying to play kill the Oko, while your opponent can just at any minute make like an 8/8 vigilance double, like it's not a good feeling. Oko, you don't even need to protect him. He's just generates a ton of value in tempo loss just sitting there. Jace. Let's see what Jace has to say about this.
Players making very interesting decisions here.
What do you read
we
about
did
this?
pick up a Damping Sphere for Greg.
I can set Aaron back 1 mana.
Yeah, it feels pretty medium. And there is a path in hand. Not something you want to be pathing when your opponent has a Field of the Dead in play isn't really where you want to be.
Not that Aaron likely has another variety of basic, because he has the Snow Forest and the regular forest. But here he's sitting on 6 mana already. I think if you're ready to Titan, you just get cooking. Start making zombies. Make food, whatever. Dinner time. Time to get some lands. Let's get.
I feel like both of these players had some like really interesting decision trees for the past couple turns about like what was going to happen. And it's hard to evaluate what was like actually there's no like this is 100% correct, but it's like what are you trying to play around?
Yeah.
So Aaron was eyeing a second Field of the Dead here. If he does get a second field, I would expect him to have a land drop in hand that he'll be laying down. Otherwise, he's trying to hit exactly 7 lands to get, or 7 different lands to get 2 triggers off that field and get a couple of zombies.
Yeah. If he has another bounce land, he can really go nuts with Azusa. Boing boing. Zombies.
Yeah, Azusa plus bounce land plus Field of the Dead is pretty gross.
Notably, though Aaron is the one wielding the Oko, I think Field of the Dead is one of Amulet's best weapons against Oko, because Oko is pretty devastating for a Titan. I mean, unless you're just going to Titan one-shot it, it's pretty bad to put all of that investment in something that turns into a 3/3. What do you think about it?
Yeah, there were a lot of builds of Amulet that kind of experimented with different top ends, and then Field of the Dead came out, and it kind of invalidated all of the other possible top ends because it's just the best way to bury your opponent, and it so easily fits into the plan of the deck.
Mm-hmm. It's a land, it's tutorable, it just hides in your land base. You don't have to do all this dancing around. Play your Hornet Queens, just zombies. Also, can I buy out Buried? We've got, what was yours from earlier? Monstrous?
Yeah, monstrous.
Buried? You just said buried. Sorry, I'm going to get back to the match. We're doing the bounce land thing. Play a bounce land, bounce my bounce land, make a zombie. Bounce trigger on the stack. Path Azusa. No more of that for you. Bounce trigger on the stack. Yeah.
Still means more zombies.
It still makes more zombies. It's worth noting, for those of you who play against Amulet, that you do want to, when you're playing Amulet, you want to, if you can, sequence your lands that don't have ETB triggers first, because then your opponent doesn't get priority to try to kill your Azusa. But we see here that getting clipped.
And Oko hasn't even elked yet.
Not this turn. Ugh. Bounce Slaria West. What are we doing? I'm just gonna do that again. No more Stoneforge. Make your Batter Skull full price.
I really don't like Oko.
I have a lot to say.
I don't really want to get into an Oko discussion.
I've been holding back this whole time because neither do I.
I feel like it's all been done a lot, but it's just a really dumb card.
I agree.
It's very bad play design.
I agree. I'm going to write a lot about Oko, but hopefully more productively than just sitting here talking about why it shouldn't have been printed, which I've already worn myself out on.
But Field of the Dead, though, and zombies.
Sweet card.
I think the Field of the Dead is all right. It's like was problematic in Standard, but I feel like it's an interesting card to have as a top end in an Eternal format.
Yeah, I like how it was so much more of a problem in Standard.
I always looked at the Amulet deck and I was like, how could I work Valakut into this deck? And then they printed Field of the Dead and I was like, oh my goodness.
So you figured out that the best way to work Valakut into the deck was to play Zombie Valakut?
Was it play better Valakut?
Yeah.
Sweet Teferi, Greg. Doesn't bounce Oko.
Valakut
Hey.
forces you to end the game, but infinite zombies makes your opponent stare at infinite zombies for a lot longer.
Yeah, they really question their life choices and what brought them to play against a bunch of zombies when all their cards will then turn into elk after one turn.
It's not where you want to be exactly.
Draw your card, Greg.
Notably,
Oh, it's the other Teferi.
do you know what can't become an elk?
Teferi cannot become an elk.
Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Jace cannot become an elk. Jace also cannot make elks, which is...
a downside.
Yeah.
He only makes brainstorms.
But Jace can be gored.
Jace can be
By elk.
attacked by an elk. So I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes, zombie becomes elk. Elk becomes lightning bolt. Also, Snapcaster Mage. We're going to jump in front of that elk. Or we're going to path it?
You want to path it and make another zombie?
Oh, God, no.
Sounds good.
No. Oh, don't. Is he, maybe Aaron's out of basics? No, he has 3, so he probably has another one.
I think we had a path resolve earlier that Aaron did not find a
Oh,
land
okay.
off of, so I think we might be out of lands.
This amulet list getting greedy. Also, don't quote me halfway. It was not I like how broken it was in standard, so I like how broken it was in standard given how fair it is in modern.
Concede.
Okay. I would like a 6/6 trampler and 2 zombies.
I would get the second copy of Field of the Dead and make it 4 zombies.
4 zombies.
Wait, we didn't have 2 copies. We're just on one right now.
We had one on the sideboard. Assuming there was one main deck. Oh yeah, we have a second one. 4 zombies. All right. The hordes are here. 3,
Yeah.
4.
I mean, Greg isn't winning this game.
No.
I would definitely consider conceding right now, so you
Yeah.
could win the next one.
Yeah, I would probably take my odds there. Oh no.
Elks aren't deer. Just mild chat correction here.
They're much less dear to my heart.
Am I wrong? Are elk deer? I'm pretty positive elk aren't deer, but I'm known to be incorrect. Let's ask.
Things that are presently being Googled. American elk are a distinct species of deer. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I'm so wrong. Elk are deer. Wow.
Wow.
That just opens up a lot of pun potential that
I
I
know.
didn't even need.
Starman, you've really endeared yourself to us tonight with that information.
Yeah. Thank you for enlightening our worldview.
Elk lightning.
Okay, it was time.
Yep. Pack it in.
The zombie horde, backed up by the giants,
The inevitable
the land-slinging giants.
shambling hordes. So, we're going to be going to a game 3 here. Though Amulet has the potential to be an explosive deck, here we're seeing much more of a slog between these two.
Yeah, I mean, at least Greg is on the play, but I feel like Greg got a little, was playing conservatively there and then kind of got punished by the whole Field of the Dead shenanigans. So, yeah, you've seen Cavern of Souls, so maybe if you boarded in the strokes, take those out. Play aggressively, keep aggressive hands.
Yeah, I noticed that Aaron had brought in Disdainful Stroke as well, perhaps thinking that Greg was not on the Stoneblade build and more interested in countering Cryptic Command and Jace. I don't know if those will stay in.
Or I feel like if I was Greg and had verdicts in, I might take them out just knowing that I have to win this game and we're not trying to slow it down, and so just keep aggressive hands.
Yeah.
But
Island Go.
Looks like we kept in verdict.
Once upon a time. There were 2 verdicts in the 75. How
There
many
are-
rounds? We have 4 rounds tonight.
We are in round 3.
One more for you guys after this one. And we have not yet had our best segment. Hopefully we'll have time for it. I'm scared. We've had a couple rounds go to time, so you haven't had enough of the glorious caster cam. All right, we're gonna opt into turn. Tribe Scout actually the herald of one of Amulet's more explosive draws, so we'll see if Aaron can just get her done here.
Yeah, it's always awkward when you're just on blue-white and your opponent casts a Tribe Scout. You're like, I want to save my path for Titan. I really don't want to path Tribe Scout. But sometimes you're supposed to do that on your opponent's upkeep, but it just never, it feels bad.
Yeah. Okay, no white mana. Island Field of Ruin looking a little rough. We've got another opt-in hand to keep digging for that white source and a Teferi Time Raveler, which could come down and answer something. But no Stoneforge this turn. Tribe Scout. Ghost Quarter. Castle Garenbrig. Notably, that is the reason for the include of the breeding pool.
Nope, there's an Azusa.
Take 2.
Azusa, follow. Breeding pool and Tribe Scout go. So, Greg fallen way behind on lands and board. Aaron may be setting up for an actual victory here, even though we have very little time left.
Of note, we haven't actually seen an amulet played by Aaron this entire match.
You are not wrong. I assume he's playing them, but...
So we're not casting Teferi, we're not casting Stoneforge Mystic. What are we holding up interaction for here?
Move to combat.
So we're going to combat. I would not run that Azusa into that. You know he has Queller, and if I were Greg and I had Queller in hand, I would be slamming it and blocking that Azusa. But now you know he doesn't have Queller. Aaron, if he'd had an untapped source there, would have had the 6 mana for Titan. But not using the land drops?
It's also entirely possible that Aaron boarded out some number, if not all of the amulets, kind of knowing that this matchup isn't necessarily about speed on his side. An amulet can be a wasted resource at times.
Alright, I can see that.
That enters.
Snapcaster Mage resolves, targets opt.
Cast once upon a time in response.
Once upon a time, there was.
It's also totally egregious that that card's an instant.
Yeah, do you think, also I feel like if you're on the Once Upon a Time builds, like you're perhaps more inclined to board out amulets because Once Upon a Time doesn't hit amulet, but it hits all your other like payoff spells against the control deck?
Absolutely.
Which tend to diversify post board. You may have a higher
It's a
density.
really tough spot for Greg to be in, where you're having to play like defense against a deck
Yeah.
that's like gonna be casting huge creatures.
So he's got Stroke in hand and Spell. So he does have Spell Queller now. I imagine that was what he just picked up, unless he was again not blocking the Azusa to hold up interaction for the Titan. But he does have Path, so
Ghost Quarter target.
I believe he's Path.
Well, I'm floating and colorless. I'm not buying this. Don't activate it, Greg. Please don't do
No,
that.
don't do
That's
that.
bad.
Don't
no,
do that.
no.
Don't.
Oh,
Don't
no.
do that. Don't do that.
Do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Moments before disaster.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, at least float a colorless, because then you can Disdainful Stroke and Spell Queller maybe.
Aaron will pass phase, I think.
Well, I mean,
Sometimes
it's
you get sloppy.
like, it's
and-
like good habits.
Yeah. Go to combat.
That's one less answer to Field of the Dead on Greg's side.
Yep. Oh, I don't hate ghost quartering it, but all right.
I think I just casting a Naked Spell Queller here.
Oh my.
I mean, you have to win. I mean, every turn that
Sorry. Yeah.
What kind of clothes is Spell Queller wearing? Let's pull that up, Ian.
So for the longest time, I thought Spellcrow was the big purple smudge, and only recently did I find out that he is not the big purple smudge. That is, in fact, maybe the quelled spell. So we are going to play that Naked Spell Queller. Start jamming. It's a clock.
Move to combat.
The answer is smoky robes.
No idea what it would look like naked.
Yeah, I'll work on some /MTG like fan fiction for next week.
We have to answer the question, what is under Spell Queller's robes? Chains, oh my. Alright. Aaron's lost his...
We're gonna cast a Teferi? Oh no, we're in.
Yeah, we've got a Teferi.
You got it to break.
We're
Not
just
enough
plussing.
to bounce and recast Spell Queller, so we're just going to plus and pass.
Joke's on you once upon a time.
It'd be nice if we had another land and we could get in with Spell Queller, bounce Spell Queller, save it for a potential interaction, but...
Activate. Cast.
Oh, disdainful stroke that.
Boom, get out.
Oh.
Struck. So struck. Are we on Sneck Beats? All the Sneck Beats.
That's extremely
You.
surprising, as it looks like Aaron just played out a Teleria West. I'm very surprised he didn't transmute that to get his Cavern and then play the Cavern and play the Titan protected next turn.
The
Decisions are being made
Yeah.
here.
Alright, we've got time and round here. Let's see if we can close this out for somebody. Yeah, Aaron's kind of gotten a little tunnel vision with that the beatdown. Stoneforge Mystic. If you wanted a closer, this could be it on that empty
I
of a
think if
board.
you want to closer, you're getting sword and maybe just casting it this turn.
Green sword, yeah. Just throw it down. Slam it and jam it. Put it on the Spell Queller or the Stoneforge, whatever. Just get in there. Slam it. Slam it. Oh,
Oh, so you're saying you got cryptic.
he does have Cryptic.
He does?
He does.
Okay, well, that's great
so.
for Greg.
I mean, I hope I'm right. I thought I saw it. Alright, what are we at? We're just going to try again. Snap Stroke is
Okay.
actually what we have. So struck again.
I feel dirty right now.
Too much stroking. I'm sorry.
It's we got a mature content rating. We're good.
I'm
We're good.
sorry. It's mature. It's a mature content rating, and yet my humor is the least mature could possibly be.
I think we might be casting the swords, equipping, and then swinging with everything.
Yeah. Sword cast equipped to Spell Queller, 5 damage
I don't
in
think
the
you
air.
equip to Spell Queller. I think you equip to Snapcaster, because then you can get through
yeah,
in the
you're
air
right.
plus on the
What
ground.
am I thinking? So then you're hitting at least 7. Aaron goes to 3. You get 1 more turn. It's potentially lethal. This is a line. Aaron is forced to answer here.
Two in hand.
And I don't see if Aaron doesn't have a. So even if Aaron has Dismember, that's taking 4 down to 6 and taking 2 down to 4.
You're still dead on the next turn. Let's see.
And there's nothing that Aaron can't even cast Dismember. There's the Teferi out. We don't have to think
Yeah.
about that. So we just, I mean, I play sword, equip, attack, go.
Let's do it.
Good. You've got the
Sword
fairy.
o'clock.
You've got the fairy out, Greg. You don't.
Sword o'clock. There's no interaction happening.
I mean, there's blocking and activating Tribe Scout, but that's about it.
To be fair, I forget that I can't interact with my opponent's Teferi, so if I played it, I probably would forget too. Alright, okay. We're gonna do this the cheap way. Gonna go ahead and equip.
I don't
We're saving 2
like
mana, I don't know.
activating because you're gonna untap all of your lands anyways.
Oh, I can bluff additional stroke.
But you're gonna untap your lands.
That's true. Okay, I don't know. Go ahead and tap here. You discard a card, Aaron. What you gonna drop? Disdainful stroke. So stricken. Alright. I do see this as a likely win unless Aaron has an answer. Jace. Let's just add to the...
I like a good plus here.
Let's just seal your fate. Yeah, fate seal you. Uh-oh. That's what you never want to hear. Fate seal you. You can have that.
I mean,
oh, crud.
I'm almost, if I'm on control and I'm playing a Jace and I'm fate sealing my opponent, I almost always leave it on the top, just unless it's absolutely gonna, like, the one card I don't want to see, just because then you know
Oh, yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah, if you can answer it, leave it. Don't risk it getting worse. Similarly with Lantern, if you see something that's, you know, it still does things, but you don't care, you're like, go ahead. All right, Aaron. Last chance.
Yeah, you gotta do something in your main phase right now.
Closing time.
Or you're dead.
One less call for Titans.
I mean, we gotta get some karaoke in here at some point. You
I
all
mean,
bragging about staying up.
How
way
would you
too
guys
late.
feel about a Portland Paper Special karaoke night?
Well, we
Where
could have like a wager on games where if you lose, you have to do karaoke or something. With,
I'm
like,
so down.
Chad's choosing.
I'm so down. All right, Aaron, what's it going to be? Let's see it. Perform a miracle.
I mean, there's some deep, deep thoughts going on right now. We got some. Oh, we got the finger counting
Oh.
too. This is when I really want to make my opponents feel intimidated. I definitely do the finger counts on the playmat.
Okay, you want a lantern soon? Oh, attack cowboy. By the way, attack. Oh, Titan time. We'll talk in a second about lantern. Boom, we're searching. I need an answer. I'm going to search for an answer.
So here's what makes this complicated. There's no amulet, so the lands will not come into play untapped. However, there are 2 Tribe Scouts. So there's not a way that Aaron can give his Titan haste. And the reason is that he would have to get a Slayer's Stronghold and a bounce land to actually be able to play the Slayer's Stronghold untapped. But Aaron only had 1 gemstone mine, so only had access to one of either red or white to give the Titan haste.
Yeah.
And so had no way to get the 2 lands that they would need to give the Titan haste to have a chance to actually win this game.
Yep. Wasn't on the table without the amulet. Turns out no amulet across the whole match was critical. By the way, Attack Cowboy, we're streaming Lantern on Thursday, so see me then, and we're going to grieve some people. We'll be back in a few.